Hey everyone, I'm here to talk about Mario Party. And since Mario Party is a game series you play with friends, I brought a friend to help me.
Hey everyone, Dustin Woodfox here, but some of you might know me as Skulls Productions. That silly Thomas Fan Fox who recently is doing better videos on YouTube.
Dustin is here with me today to help rank the boards from the first 3 Mario Party games. I'm sure many of us have fond memories of Mario Party 2, but with 1 and 3 seeing a re-release for the first time ever, new memories can now be made.
That's right, ever since Hudson made the first Mario Party all the way back in 1998, it has become one of the most well-known spin-off titles Mario has ever done that wasn't the main platform series, or even the spin-off RPGs like Paper Mario and Mario & Luigi. Of course, as the years passed, Mario Party has changed a lot. The first 8 games kept the same formula for a very long time.
Then came 9 and 10. We don't talk about those.
But in recent years, Mario Party has indeed been repaired. Super Mario Party was the start of this, bringing back the stars at full force, and Mario Party Superstars would not only bring back the classic boards, something that Mario Party The Top 100 didn't bother to do, but it would bring the game back to what it was in such a long time, bringing back things like chance time and even hidden blocks.
Yep, it's good to see Mario Party back to what it once was, so Dustin and I think it's high time to see how the original 20 boards stack up.
Indeed. For this list, we're going to rank all 20 boards from the Nintendo 64 titles from worst to best, talking about their highs, their lows, their gimmicks, and what makes them the listed board on this list. And trust me when I say some of them, including the ones from the original Mario Party, tend to be a little rage-inducing, to make you like the angry video game nerd.
Not all boards across the N64 are made equal, as some are definitely better than others. We're gonna look at them based on how well they're designed, as well as what gimmicks they may have.
Also, we'll make some comparisons to the originals with their remasters on Mario Party Superstars, the few boards that are on there, that is. And keep in mind, this script was written well before the announcement of Super Mario Party Jamboree, which, just like Superstars, has 2 classic boards, being Mario's Rainbow Castle in Party 1 and Western Land from Party 2. So we won't be doing any modifications since we may not have the game in hand during this production. So sorry in advance. Let's get the worst one out of the way first.
Oh boy, this board. Something had to take the bottom of this list, and this was a no-brainer.
Yeah, even though Wario is my main...
And mine!
Right, I can agree that this board is indeed a mess. One to make you as pissed off as Snoopy after his tennis match from You're a Good Sport Charlie Brown.
The idea couldn't be simpler. There are 4 islands you travel between via cannons. This would be fine if there wasn't a huge problem. When you're launched out of a cannon, your landing spot is completely random, so you can either land flawlessly, or right after the star.
Yeah, if you're not careful, you can overshoot your landing. Technically, you can go back if you land on a happening space and get the cannons moved so the order goes in reverse, but the main problem is still painfully apparent.
As for Bowser's inclusion, this actually ties into the worst part of this board. See the Fly Guy? He is absolutely evil! For 10 coins, you can go to Bowser's Island, if you want to for whatever reason, or you can bring another player to you. This makes the board extra frustrating because even if you do have good luck with the cannons, someone else can just ruin your chances. Also, the star ends up in Bowser's area sometimes.
So yeah, this board really does come from really bad ideas, as if the original Mario Party wasn't bad enough.
Fortunately, this is as bad as it gets. The other boards are at least marginally better than this.
Mario Party 2 improved a lot of things from the first one. The boards are more creative, the ideas for certain minigames are fixed, and also, there's no spinning joystick minigames!
That last one was a real problem.
So anyways, what board could be considered the worst of 2?
How about a board with similar problems to the one we just talked about?
Yeah, even though I really like this board, this one is considered similar to Battle Canyon. but in a way it is a bit better.
Dressed up like archaeologists, the crew explores this alien crash site, I guess. Similar to Wario's Battle Canyon, you traverse the 4 islands, this time with happening spaces taking you from island to island clockwise.
Yeah, no random choice. You go to the first spot every time and circle around an island until you hit the next happening space. It works, I guess, and there's ways to go around these too without the spaces.
On 2 of the islands, there are skeleton key doors, and the other 2, there are spots where for 10 coins you can be warped to the opposite island. Just be careful though, there's a chance it could backfire.
If you're not lucky, you end up on another island adjacent to the others. Its purpose there is to be a temporary prison with red spaces and happening spaces, and since there's no blue, a star space never appears there, so it's kinda pointless aside from the fact there's an Easter egg of the remains of King Bob-omb after the events of Super Mario 64. And the item minigame has you with a hammer to smash 2 blocks under your desired item and win it. It's pretty easy so long as you don't undershot or overshot it. It's okay, I guess.
Meanwhile, the duel minigame is just a chore. You alternatively mash the A and B buttons, but it's just tiring, and that's all you do. One last thing, there's a small hut where you can place a slow curse on other players. Though unlike the evil fly guy, this is just fine.
Yeah, another thing, this board tends to be kinda small. It's still big on design, yeah, but there's a reason I say it's small. The Runaway guys called this board Hidden Block Central.
Hidden blocks work quite differently in Mario Party 2 compared to the first game. Previously, they either give or take away 20 coins or allowed use of a boo. Now they give you 20 coins or a free star, and in Mario Party 3, a random item. Needless to say, with a board setup like this, they're a lot more common.
Indeed. But now that we've gone over my favorite board in the second game, even if it is still bad, let's see a board I recently got a hate for.
No, that is not a typo from this game. For some reason, they call it Bloober instead of Blooper, and that's only the first problem with this board.
Mario Party 3 is my favorite in the original Nintendo 64 trilogy. The story is pretty cool, the boards have some good ideas, and they had the players hold 3 items instead of just 1, which makes planning a whole lot easier.
Also, they had dual boards, but for the sake of this list, we'll be excluding those. Maybe we can rank those another time, but for now, oh man, this board is bland. This board takes place underwater, and that's pretty much it. The layout is overly basic, and there's like 2 gimmicks splashed in to try and help.
One gimmick I don't like is the one with sushi. Basically, you have to press a button and hope you end up in the right direction. Otherwise, if the bullet bill hits you, you go to the opposite side, basically turning you further from the star. Think of it as a game of Russian roulette, or a later version of the flower lottery in Peach's birthday cake, which we'll get to in a bit.
And there's also this giant anglerfish with a line of happening spaces in front of it. Land on one, and it'll try and suck you up and spit you in one of 3 directions. Of course, you can just mash A to stay where you are. This is fine, just not that exciting.
Another event I hate is this. If you land on a happening space near this baby blooper, it'll have a weird tantrum, in which a giant tentacle moves you to the other side. If you land on this and the star was in the path you were on... that.
Overall, it's a boring board with design elements that hinder it more than help it most of the time. Fortunately, the rest of the boards in 3 are leagues better than this.
Yeah, but there's one more gripe I had in a recent playthrough where I was in story mode. I was on this board and nobody got to the star. It was stuck in this area where you needed a skeleton key in order to get it. And since I was on easy mode, no one was smart enough to get it. Yeah, 15 turns in this mode and nobody got to the main objective. The only reason I passed this board is because I had a high coin count and bonus stars. That's it!
Yeah.
I mostly mulled this board over, but now because of this, I hate it! Playing the Mario Party series can be fun at times, even when it's on your birthday. It can be a fun time, or in the case of this board, a rather evil time. And that's where Princess Peach's board comes into play.
This right here is the progenitor for the concept of stealing stars. When you land on a happening space, you can plant a, strawberry, which then grows into a massive piranha plant that will steal the star whichever unfortunate sucker lands on it next.
This is what makes this board evil. Those strawberry piranha plant things. This is also the only board, with the exception of the Party 1 hidden blocks, where Boo doesn't appear. And considering these plants take stars, I don't think Boo is needed.
However, Peach's birthday cake isn't the only entree here. Before you reach a star, which is locked in one area here, you must play the flower lottery. You're given 4 seeds, and one of them will send you to Bowser. Needless to say, that is the last thing you want.
Yeah, not to mention the Bowser pudding looks like flan, the flavor-filled Mexican dessert which is hated by one of my favorite YouTubers, Rebecca Perrin. If you see Bowser, he'll give you his own cake, and it's made of rocks.
While we don't get the cartoon teeth shattering effect here, that is still pretty rude. The board in Mario Party 1 overall isn't great, but when it was brought back for Superstars, they made a lot of nice changes. The flower lottery is now after the star so you can't get screwed over, and piranha plants now work off 2 spaces and just steal coins instead.
Yeah, they can still take stars, you just have the extra option now. And also, items are a thing now. Yeah, they've been a thing since Party 2, but items in Peach's birthday cake are considered a blessing in disguise.
With the exception of Bowser's overpriced cursed dice block, which can sometimes happen along with the rock cake, every other item here does work to the board's benefit.
Overall, if you want a bad birthday, play the OG cake. But if you want a good birthday, try the slightly better Superstars cake.
This next one is brown and bland.
That's it?
That's it! Okay, being serious here, DK's Jungle Adventure isn't terrible, there's just not much to say about it.
And considering how big Donkey Kong is, whether he's the enemy in the original cabinet game, have a redesign by Rare with some of his most popular games, and having an early computer animated series where DK had a voice.
That show. Anyways, what can we talk about on this board?
Well, we do have a boulder that comes around every once in a while, a la Indiana Jones. And we have those womps that block your way for a toll. And, what's Bowser's gimmick here?
You can go see him if you have at least 20 coins, and sometimes the star is there. That's about it.
What were we talking about again?
Mario Party board with not much to it. Shall we move on?
Gladly. Yeah, be ready to see a lot of OG Mario Party on this end of the list. Like I said, the original Mario Party is not my favorite, but at least with this board, there's more to talk about here than the last one, since this one was also featured in Superstars, and features Mario's faithful dinosaur,
Yahoo!
The next board is Yoshi's Tropical Island, which is a bit of a misleading name. There's 2 islands! That's false advertising!
Apparently the story of this board is 2 Yoshis are separated due to whirlpools, so the Superstar has to bring them back together. This one is a bit of a special one, and it's all because of the happening spaces.
See, the locations of Bowser and Toad are always the same, but landing on a happening space swaps them. In other words, your island can go from happy to terrifying at the drop of a hat, and to switch islands, you must pay the toll.
You can be kind and pay the toll of 1 coin per passing, which progresses every time, or you can be that guy and overpay the thwomp for the next guy to pass by, but know that your friends will despise you for that.
Aside from swapping islands with Toad, Bowser's thing in this board is that it gives you a swimming suit, except it's pretty flimsy and bursts when you try it on.
This board tends to be annoying, and it definitely needed the fix-up. Good thing it was added to Superstars as the easiest board in the game with 1-star difficulty, even though it's still pretty hard.
Like with Peach's birthday cake, there are some good ideas here, but unfortunately it's held back by the limitations of the first game. Fortunately though, the next boards are just a bit better. Quick, Dustin, what do you think of when you think of Luigi?
The tall brother of Mario who was played by Danny Wells of the Super Mario Bros. Super Show.
Valve on 1, 2. Red zone 3, 4. Valve on 1, 2, red zone 3, 4.
But would you think he has his own engine room on a flying ship?
What?
Yeah, before he became everyone's favorite Ghostbuster and having a very bad educational game, Luigi had his own airship. Oddities aside, this is actually a pretty alright board. The main gimmick is that each turn the blue and red walls will swap, which determines where you can go at junctions.
This would be technically reused in a later board, but not yet. This board does look pretty cool, and I like how this looks. I also like how it's one of the few boards where the star changes locations in Party 1. Though less said about the Battle Canyon, the better.
Bowser hangs around on the left side of the board with his fantastic coin generator, and it actually does come as advertised. Too bad he robs you of coins for his demonstration.
Yeah, technically wouldn't this be counterfeiting?
Honestly, wouldn't put it past Bowser.
A better board in Party 1, but we're nearly there. This board I think is pretty cool in presentation, but I think it's a bit... Okay, hear me out! One of the things I like most about 2 to 8 is the fact that the star changes its location after a player grabs one. That's fun, but certain boards where the star is in one location doesn't make it any fun. I do know Bowser is swapped after a star is taken or by the happening space, but I just don't find this as exciting as the other boards.
It may not be super exciting, but I find this board to be one of the best ones for a more relaxed game. There aren't any outstanding gimmicks besides the tower swapping between Bowser and Toad, but unlike DK's Jungle Adventure, it's not exactly boring. The simple fact that the game can turn from a race to an inverse race on the fly keeps things interesting.
I guess there is that. For Bowser's thing, instead of a star like what Toad normally gives, he gives what is officially called a star, or Zetar. Yeah, at least Bowser can't get any worse.
You know, Bowser is a real annoyance in Mario Party. It's a good thing he doesn't have a board to call his own.
Yeah, about that.
Well, this looks inviting.
Yeah, this is a board of nightmares. What you have to do is try to climb a giant volcano and hope you'll be able to get the star. And trust me when I say this board is no mere pushover.
While going down the path, you have the opportunity to take shortcuts. But first, you gotta pay 10 coins, then hit the dice block. Hopefully get the star and move on, otherwise you're out 10 coins and you have to take the long way.
It's better to save up anyway, but even that's hard to do sometimes. If you hit a happening space, the volcano will erupt and it turns all blue spaces into red spaces temporarily. Meaning if you land on any red space, you lose 3 or 6 coins per land. And it's worse.
And since Bowser's the main star, what's his gimmick? Well, before you get to the end, you run into a fork in the path. From here you can go to Bowser or Boo. If you're unfortunate enough to get Bowser, he'll either take coins or straight up take a star from you.
Even though it seems like this board is always out to get you, that's what makes it fun. You're always on edge because at any given moment something can happen that just ruins you or someone else.
And believe it or not, this isn't even the best board from the first game, but we'll get there when we get there.
Finally, we are done with all the Party 1 boards, and now we're getting into the fun stuff. Let's start this off with being scurvy dogs of the sea.
Being a pirate is a recipe. Do what you want 'cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate.
Really?
Sorry, couldn't resist.
Anyways, Pirate Land is a relatively basic board, all things considered. You have bridges that can potentially send you back to Star, and a couple of flop holes for shortcuts similar to Yoshi's Tropical Island, but it's pretty simple outside of that.
Yeah, it's a simple board with not too much going on, but compared to the Party 1 boards, it's a pretty decent starting board. It's too bad this game was made 4 years before Cortez, one of the bosses from Thousand Year Door, was introduced, because it would have been a nice home for him. And considering Mario Party 5 had the Star Spirits from the original Paper Mario as hosts, it's not a bad idea.
At the very least, it's a great introduction for how the new item system can shake things up. From mushrooms granting additional dice blocks, to skeleton key shortcuts, to the magic lamp being an absolute godsend, it also has one of the better item minigames in my opinion, with a nice round of shell game. But with barrels. but the duel minigame is a bit of a letdown as just first to hit a button sequence wins.
Yep, and despite Pirate Land not being used in Superstars, the item minigame it had does get used there, albeit without the pirate theming. Shame, I know, but still, Superstars, for all the awesome it did, it had a few missed opportunities. You'll see why as we continue.
I say we now journey to the west and see what's over there. Not quite what I expected, but I like what I see.
There's a snake in my boot because this is another pretty good starting board. It's basically based on a ghost town of the Old West, and if you know me, this is a pretty good board for me because...
I like trains.
That train is the main gimmick of this board. You can hop on for a ride for 5 coins, and hitting a happening space will cause him to move on to the next station. However, if you're in his path, you'll be knocked back to start. This train, named Steamer, actually ended up being a minor staple for a while, making a few cameos in later titles.
Yep, the item minigame is pretty much a chance one too, as you pull a lever to stop a baby train and win the item you land on. This one kinda works like Mystery Land, but more challenging, and there's also a few more gimmicks here too. One where you have to stop at a bar and get drunk off milk. Remember, this is a game for kids, so giving Mario alcohol is a big no-no for Nintendo.
And this board has my favorite duel minigame of the lot in Mario Party 2. It's a quick draw showdown where only the fastest draw wins. And let me tell you, getting the win here is super satisfying.
Indeed, and while a pretty frustrating board at times, at least it's better than Deep Bloober Sea, as there are enough ways to tilt the scales in your favor. And here we have another Mario Party 3 board, and considering its placement, it's way better than Deep Bloober Sea in comparison. It's pretty telling of the quality of the boards in this game. This one is actually fun and challenging for a starting board.
Similar to Pirate Land, the layout of the board isn't anything special, but it's everything around the board that really elevates it. For one thing, there's the ice lake in the middle. If 2 players land in that area together, they'll be breaking the ice alright, it's just the ice beneath their feet. And there's also a giant snowman named Mr. Blizzard that can push players around the board. Of course, with a all-time jump, you can ignore this, but there are absolutely times where this is helpful.
It's kinda similar to what happens in DK's Jungle Adventure, but better executed since you can not only avoid it, but there's also multiple directions it can take you. Most of the board has a bright daytime feel, while the one side is in the dark, supposedly with Christmas lights. It's actually a good board to play around the winter holidays.
All in all, while not super flashy, this is a fun board. If you ask me, that's pretty cool.
Really, dude?
What, are you gonna give me the cold shoulder?
I mean it. Stop it.
Come on, chill out.
I will end you!
Moving on! By now, we've seen that the boards in Mario Party 2 are quite the upgrade from the first game, and as to be expected, Bowser has a board to call his own. And even though Magma Mountain was dangerous, I can name something even worse. A theme park!
Since I was born in California, you know that it's the best place for theme parks like Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm, among others. But this one is a crazy one. After you play through the other 5 boards in Mario Party 2 once each, Bowser and 3 baby Bowsers show up and abduct Toad, so we have to save him from the evil clutches of Bowserland.
Right off the bat, this board breaks a lot of conventions. Passing by the bank will give you 5 coins. However, if someone lands on the bank space, they need to pay up every coin that was paid out. However, if the player has no coins, then the bank steals a star. Kind of on the nose with the reality of debt, huh?
There are also 2 different item stores too. One on the bottom is the standard store, while up on top you have no choice but to buy a rather expensive item, usually filling your single item slot. And I recently discovered if you go to the store with little coins, the little bugger will call you a thief. Speaking of items, the item mini game is a slot machine. If you've been to Vegas, you know the deal. Match 3 to win a jackpot. Otherwise...
You get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
As for the duel minigame, it's just a game of rock, paper, scissors, but with Mario, Bowser, and Peach. Honestly, this is really clever and I can't help but love it. But of course, there's the biggest part of the board, the parade.
Every 5 turns, the parade stomps through the board and drags whomever is in its path back to start, while also robbing their coins. You can actually adjust its path throughout the board, so just be mindful.
Perhaps you remember my 2023 April Fool's stream we did, and yeah, it's a pretty good showcase for how dumb this board can be. But that's why we love it. It's the perfect kind of dumb that really embodies what Mario Party is all about.
Indeed. This may be Bowser's last board in the N64 era, but not the last unlockable board we'll talk about. And don't get me wrong, this board is pretty decent, but this is the only Mario Party 3 board that was represented in Superstars. No DLC or anything.
It's a darn shame, but let's talk about the board itself. Woody Woods is set in a forest. Who could have seen that coming? And it's actually similar to Luigi's engine room. Each turn, the signs of the junctions will change and that will determine which direction you go. Because apparently signs are just that powerful in the Mario universe.
The Monty Moles are in charge of the signs here, and every time you run into a happening space or pay an individual one some coins, that path will be where you're going, and depending on where the star is, it can either work for you or screw you over. And speaking of which...
Because this board is named after Woody, no, not that one, there are a couple of trees. The good Woody will give you fruits to either give you coins or let you roll again, but the mean Woody will make you lose coins or force you to go backwards. I like how in Superstars as swoopers drag you back. Nice touch.
However, you can't avoid Dark Woody's choices, otherwise he makes you do both at the same time. Talk about evil.
As for the layout, it's fairly basic, but that was likely a very deliberate design. Luigi's engine room showed us that too many paths with this sort of gimmick can make traversal a pain.
Indeed, it's a board best played with the magic lamp or gold pipe. What? Another Party 1 board? But I thought... why are you laughing, Arrow?
Introducing Eternal Star!
So, this board comes out of nowhere after beating Bowser and getting 100 stars, and then Bowser steals all those hard-earned stars. How evil.
And to make matters worse, he shouted the Eternal Star in the sky, but worse still, he drew graffiti over it! How evil!
This board is very different compared to the other 7 boards you just played. For one, you don't get stars from Toad, and there's 7 baby Bowsers you have to beat in order to get a star.
When approaching a baby Bowser, you pay the 20 coins like normal, but then you have to win a dice roll. Fortunately, it's skewed in your favor as your dice block can only roll an 8, 9, or 10. However, should you actually fail, you'll have a star stolen.
There's also the matter of teleporters all around the board. You use them to access different parts of the board, but one of these teleporters takes you to Bowser. If that happens, you'll not only lose a star, but he'll change the course for the teleporter, so you have to figure out what goes where all over again.
This might sound like a frustrating mess to play, but that's exactly what makes this board so much fun. You can never tell how a game is going to go because at any given moment, someone could get to Bowser and scramble everything, land on a happening space to send everyone back to start, or actually luck out to see Boo.
So yeah, in a mess of lame, frustrating, and sometimes rage-inducing boards and minigames making Party 1 the weakest of the original N64 trilogy, it's good to know this board shines. It's not top 5 material, but it still shines. The second to last board in Mario Party 3, and this one is a rather Womp and Thwomp themed board. You basically go around the underground caves and try to find a star, but there are a few obstacles in your path.
First up, there's the Sleeping Womp King. He'll ask for a random item, and if you give it to him, he'll flip over. Alternatively, hitting a happening space in front of him will do the same thing, which could either be good or bad.
Also, as sort of a callback to Western Land, you can try to get a ride from Thwomp using a minecart. However, you only have one chance to jump onto the cart, and the timing is a bit tricky. Or you can just get chased by a minecart by happening space, whatever suits your fancy.
You can also get across the other side of the board with a skeleton key, giving you multiple ways of getting around. Honestly, this board arguably uses skeleton keys better than any other board, which is a huge plus for it.
Indeed, it may be a slog to get around at points, but hope for the best you can make it through. Also, those womps playing an actual Mario Party board game is kinda cute.
Yeah, I'm gonna win this!
Hit it back! I did it!
Get out of my house!
That's right, it's time to talk about Spaceland. Everyone loves Spaceland, and it's for a good reason too. First off, you're in space. Move over, Galaxy. This is the real space adventure. Basically, what you do here is traverse a big space station dressed as astronauts and worry about potentially getting run over by womps and thwomps.
Landing on any happening space will cause a thwomp to chase you and anyone else on that stretch to the beginning of that stretch. How a thwomp is able to drive with no hands is beyond me, but whatever. However, if someone pays Sniffit to set up a speed trap, a womp comes by instead and sends everyone further back.
This means you need to plan your routes really carefully, as one false step could lead you and others getting sent back. But there's another factor to that, the center junction. Whenever someone walks over it, the number drops, and when it hits 0, Bowser's satellite zaps everyone down the diagonal path with a laser that takes all of their coins away.
So you have reckless drivers, bad police officers, and giant death lasers. I don't think any other Mario Party board gives players this kind of paranoid energy, and it's just fantastic.
The item mini game is also an interesting one. It's basically based on that one carnival game you see in cartoons where you use a giant hammer to test your strength and win a prize. But it's less about strength and more about precision, as you have to gauge how much to raise your hammer.
As for a duel, it's another game of precision, as you have to press the button after a certain number of seconds pass. This is honestly my favorite duel in the game, as it can get super tense.
This is also one of the Lucky Party 2 boards to get remastered for Superstars along with the item minigame. Overall, this is a great board to play, just don't go spacing out while you're here. Now we're getting to some of the good stuff. This is a board I've recently started to enjoy. If you remember in Mario Party 2, one of the things they did was have both Toad and Baby Bowser on the board. Toad naturally gives you the star, but Baby Bowser will just take 5 coins from you. How evil!
In Mario Party 3, however, we stick to just one star space for most of the board, with the Millennium Star taking Toad's place. However, one board opted to mix things up. Spiny Desert has 2 different star spaces, and both seem real, but that's actually because one of them is a mirage. You are in a desert after all.
With this, it can be tricky because you could go to one possible star spot and it suddenly disappears, meaning you have to trek to another spot for the real star. Sure, this can be annoying at points, but it also adds a dose of energy to games.
The rest of the board does have a few more tricks though. There are 2 circles with happening spaces to travel between them, and a challenge to jump over a pair of cacti. This can either be a handy shortcut, or it can completely screw you over. It's all down to whether or not you have the timing.
This is also one of the only boards where you can easily land on a Bowser space at the start of the game for a big bonus. Normally when you land on a Bowser space, you're far past screwed, but if you land on his space with 0 coins, he will actually take pity on you and give you 30 to 50 coins. The same thing will happen if you use a Bowser phone on someone with 0 coins.
On this board, if you roll an 8 or 10 at the start, you can go to the store and buy a gold mushroom for 10 coins, then easily land on a Bowser space to give you a big advantage out of the gate.
It's honestly a really cool trick that no other board can really provide. Gotta say, this board certainly isn't dry of surprises.
Hey, bad puns are my job. You think the wizarding world of Harry Potter is cool? Check this out!
Mario Party 6 had a mechanic where boards would shift between day and night. As it turns out, this board did it first about 5 years prior. Horrorland is by far one of the best boards in Party 2, or heck, the series in general. So much so, it, along with Spaceland, were given the Superstars treatment.
But what makes this board so special? Well, the day and night mechanic was implemented brilliantly. During the day, you can ask the womps to move, but most of the boost spaces aren't available. And at night, the womps freeze in place so you can't access certain parts of the board.
This means you need to use a lot of strategy and planning to get around this board. You could try for a big play, but rolling just short or someone landing on a happening space to swap between day or night can throw a wrench in things.
But those aren't the only ways time can be manipulated. At the top of the board is this manor where you can light the darkness lantern. And I have no idea how it works, but it turns day to nighttime.
There's also this one area on the board where you can dance with the spirits all night long. And I mean that literally, because after all that partying, it's suddenly daytime. For the duel minigame, you just have a timing game where you have to poof certain colored mushrooms into a pot. And for the item minigame, it's basically another shell game like Pirate Lands, but with opening and closing coffins, kinda like in Bart vs. the World. But that's nothing compared to a certain thing that only happens on this board, both here and in the remaster.
Behind one of the skeleton key doors, only at nighttime, you can see Big Boo. This powerful event can target everyone and steal coins for 15 coins, or 3 stars, one from each opposing player, if you somehow get 150 coins and see him. This is easily one of the most powerful board events in the series, and for good reason.
And did we mention this board looks great? Between everyone dressed in magic garb and the spooky yet cheerful atmosphere, it feels like a big Halloween party, which is just perfect for the series. But even with all this going for it, one board is still even better. Before we get into this board, and trust me, this one is awesome, let's talk about one of Nintendo's underrated and underappreciated characters, Waluigi.
He only gets to show up in spin-offs and never gets the spotlight for himself compared to Wario. There was Mario's Dance Dance Revolution where he was the first boss, but that was all. He never even got the chance to become playable in Smash. However, there was one time where he actually did get the attention he deserves. And that one time brought us not just the best board of the N64 era, but one of the best boards in the series as a whole. Welcome to Waluigi Island.
The one thing of note about Party 3 was that this was the first game in the series to add in new characters, a tradition that continues to this day. For this game, it's Princess Daisy from Super Mario Land, who has become prominent at this point in time. And of course, Waluigi. This board is my absolute favorite, period. This is what I think of when I think of crazy Mario Party insanity. But trust me, just describing how awesome this board is doesn't justify it. Let's break it down.
First, you start off with the Circle of Death. Every time someone lands on one of those happening spaces, the number counts down, and when it hits 0, it detonates and takes the coins of everyone in that circle. Nasty!
Then we have the junction right afterwards. You don't choose where to go, oh no. Instead, you gotta time it right if you want to go to the direction you want, and the speed can range from manageable to utterly crazy.
To the north, you can go see Boo, but you gotta play a little game. A 50-50 chance. Get it right, and you go to see Boo as planned. But get it wrong, and it's back to start with you.
But all of that is nothing compared to what I've dubbed Random Space Island! This island has all spaces, aside from the bank, as the exact same space. But here's the kicker. The space changes each turn, so it can go from a safe space with all blue or red spaces to a minefield of all chance time or game guy spaces in the blink of an eye. This area is evil, trust me on this, and the star has a chance to appear here. Good luck with that when that happens.
To say this board is utterly loony is truly a big understatement. There's absolutely no planning on this board, just hoping that the board is in your favor. And that right there is why it produces the best games. It's absolutely chaotic and unpredictable.
Whenever I decide to play Mario Party 3 with friends, this is usually my first choice for a board to play on because it epitomizes why I love the series. It's chaotic fun, a joy to play with friends, and hands down our favorite board of the N64 trilogy. It is indeed a travesty that this board never got into Superstars, but at least it's on the N64 NSO service. If you want to play 50 turns of this, enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And try to find some wacky watches to make it go longer.
Why would I?
Oh, no reason.
Hey buddy, can you—
Time for more stories!